Welcome to another episode of Chicas and Chai. We're so happy you're here. Make sure to follow us on all our platforms. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as Chicas and Chai. Follow us on Instagram at Chicas and Chai Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the last episode of the first season of Chicas and Chai. I can't believe that I just said that we're here. Thank you all so much for all of your support, for rallying behind us, listening to us across all these channels. We've been streaming in several countries besides the United States, and that's just so exciting for us. Happy holidays. We hope you guys are in the holiday spirit. We definitely are. We are both celebrating our holidays in a really different manner this year. So, Luce, I know you have some travel coming up. Do you want to tell our listeners what you have planned?
Hi, everyone. It's so nice that we have this time to kind of go through our journey, but it's also so bittersweet. I don't know how to feel about it. I will be going to Colombia with my husband's family. It'll be such a good time. I'm really excited about it. I've had the opportunity to go a few times in the past, but it's been a long time. It's been over 5 years since I've gone and visited his family with him. So we'll be doing that. It's going to be fun, but I'm a little sad because I'm so used to spending the holidays, Noche Buena with my family. It's like the biggest holiday, I think, of the year. It's like the most significant in Latin American culture. It'll be fun though, because, I'll be with other Latin Americans. So it'll be nice.
I think that'll be a really unique experience, and you'll have to keep sharing that on the Chicas and Chai Instagram page. Keep us posted about your trip. We can't wait to see. We love your reels. I'm also a little sad because this year is a little different for me. I'm also really used to of spending the holidays with my family. So celebrating it here with us three and then our neighbors is really different, but really exciting. We're glad to have a community and people to celebrate with. And so we're really excited for that. But I know that you and I have a common theme, I feel like, which has happened this whole season, where every time you and I finish recording an episode, because we go off the whim and we're not like rehearsed or using a script, we always feel like we missed out on something. And there's always so much more to touch on. So I think we really want to take this opportunity to kind of talk about the things that we might have missed and new conversations that spark. So without further ado, let's start. Maybe we can go down the list. Episode one. Not sure if we missed out much there, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and take the lead and see where you want to start from.
No, I mean, I don't think we missed too much reflecting on how we have felt listening back to these episodes here and there. I'm not going to lie. I don't listen back to too much. I don't know how I feel about my voice, but I know you and I have talked about periods, and that was such a bold conversation for us, I think. Like, what is your comfortability with that right now versus then?
I do think it's so funny that we went from Meet the Host to I Do My Way to just talking about periods point blank. I think that it was such a bold conversation. We also learned a lot. We realized that we had a lot in common in our cultural rhetoric, even being from two different cultures. And one of that being about the tampons. And I think that us even saying the word virginity and me saying it right now also just feels like such an intimidating thing for me to do. Very taboo, very not demure, something you're not supposed to be doing. So it feels weird, but I'm really glad. I feel like I have changed so much from that conversation, just kind of how I talk about my periods, because it opened up this strength in me and it just feels more natural and comfortable. I was at home and I was telling my mom I'm starting my period, and my dad was right there, my brother was right there, and it just came out of my mouth without me even thinking about it. And until that episode dropped, I probably would have never said things like that. And kind of just talking to my girlfriends and being more open, like, I'm not going to go out because of the fact that I'm on my period instead of just saying that I'm not feeling well, because they understand and they're able to connect with you that way. I think that that definitely gave me strength and to be okay with being vulnerable in that aspect.
I agree with that part because let's go back to when we talked about virginity, right? We put it in a story and I forget the title. It was something about virginity.
Oh,
We
something
were
about like, do you want to hear how like the story of how it got lost?
Oh my gosh, yes, how we lost our virginity, and I think at that point we're at the beginning, right? So let's think about it. We're trying to figure out social media, like what's a good hook? And also it was a part of the episode. Someone really close to me reached out and was like, "What are you doing? You're oversharing. This is ridiculous." And I think that was the moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, people really are listening, 1, and 2, there's nothing wrong with saying virginity." And like you said, you and I both grew up in a culture where this was so taboo and it's your freaking virginity. Like, it's not a
Yeah.
big deal. And I think back then I even was a little intimidated by us saying that, but now you get really used to it, like you said. And so I think I'm also in this comfortability wagon with you where the more I do it, the more it's normalized within me. But you can't really help what other people react about it with, you know?
Yeah,
So
it was definitely controversial, so you're not alone there. I felt the heat for it, and at one point I regretted it, but I think that we just did what we had to do.
exactly. Yeah. And it just goes to show you we're learning in this podcast with everyone. We're normalizing conversations within our personal lives too. And it's not easy. I will say, I know in one episode I talked about my trip to Mexico and the imposter syndrome episode and being able to have this embrace my dual identity, I
Yeah.
think was very important to me. It was a full circle and it's a great intersection between my culture and my work. And I think for me, like that episode was, it allowed me to grow as a person. And I know that you can say the same about certain episodes, like that imposter syndrome episode for you.
Yeah, I think that you and I even talked about this, that a lot of people will sometimes confuse imposter syndrome with a lack of confidence. So realizing that that's not the case and that you can be very confident and still feel the imposter syndrome because of the fact that we are women of color. It's easy to end up feeling that way. And when you're forcing yourself to feel more confident when you already are a confident person, that imposter syndrome has already seeped in.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like you said, imposter syndrome, I don't think it's about confidence. It's just about the sense of belonging. It doesn't mean that you lack confidence. And I think this because I think I'm overall a confident person. There are times where I'm not, but it's just a sense of feeling out of place in this space. And you can know your worth and still feel out of place. And, just the importance of knowing your worth and owning that. Now, I would like to kind of talk about your episode with talking about motherhood and the challenges that came with that.
Those 2 episodes that we did about my journey of motherhood and your journey of the pressure of becoming a mom are 2 episodes that will always be so close to my heart, I feel like, because we really got to hone in on our feelings and learned a lot about each other. I learned things that I didn't even know, situations that you had been put in, and a fresh perspective because I had also dealt with that pressure, but it's a lot different because you're still fighting this pressure and you're doing so well and you're so strong. But there are 2 things that I did not get to touch on in that episode. One being breastfeeding because that could be a whole series on its own, and then parenting. So let's take a look at these in turn. And parenting specifically regulating your own emotions while parenting. So let me start with breastfeeding. The noise that comes with this idea of breastfeeding versus formula was one of the most overwhelming parts of early motherhood for me. I felt so much intense pressure from the minute my son was born. Even the lactation specialists at the hospital were so pushy and just relentless. Like they made me feel like if I didn't breastfeed, I would be failing as a mom. And I was already going through it because my son had broke his collarbone on his way out of the birthing canal. So holding him in that nursing position to get him to breastfeed and latch was making him really upset. And I could tell that he was in an intense amount of pain. And they just kept insisting that I go at it because this was best for him. And I got really upset. So I shut that down. Then I had to exclusively pump, which was brutal, like the things that go into that, but I wasn't producing enough milk. I'm not sure what it was. It might have been stress, but I tried everything, a different pump, pumping around the clock, supplements, teas, foods that are supposed to help you produce more milk. And because of this societal conditioning and pressure, I started feeling like my body was failing me. And so I was failing as a mother and I started spiraling. So one day I'm breastfeeding and pumping and in pain. And my grandma comes up to me and she was like, you know, you're killing yourself over this. You're not going to win an award for breastfeeding your son. All he needs is nutrients and a loving, energetic mom. And I was like, oh my gosh. In that moment, it really hit me. I was reminded that the only thing that mattered was that my baby was well fed and healthy. And I shouldn't feel ashamed if I couldn't breastfeed and if I had to supplement with formula. And yes, there are several benefits to breastfeeding. I'm not taking that away. But this pressure is so suffocating. It made me feel less than as a new mom. And I think society really needs to stop shaming moms who can't or don't breastfeed as if their love and care for their child is defined by how they're fed. That's so unfair. I was doing everything in my capacity and it was just not happening. And I had even friends around me that would side eye me when they would hear that I was giving formula to a 6 week old. And it really messed with my mental health.
You hear a lot about this, and me as not being a mom, it's very educational for me. What did you know about this before you became a mom? I'm really interested to know. Am I just really unaware of things, or is it something that just hits you like, oh, this is a thing?
Yeah, I think that close to my delivery, when I really started getting into reading mom blogs and the benefits of these things, what I should be doing, how you're supposed to feed the baby, I didn't know anything. That's when I started coming across this rhetoric. But the minute my son was born, the way those lactation specialists were hounding me and
Mhm.
forcing me to try to breastfeed him, and he's screaming and crying, and she's like just pushing his head up upon me, and I was like traumatized. I have this new baby. He's writhing in pain, and you rather me put him in pain. And it really makes you realize how conditioned we are to feel like we have to do that over the health and wellness of the baby and the mom. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, no, that is so ridiculous, Summer. I truly think you're not the only one experiencing this, but I'm so glad that you're putting light on this because I would feel so distraught. Like you're at your most vulnerable. And then, like, these are specialists. You have some sense of respect for them. So you think they know best. And then they're making you feel a certain way. I'd be devastated
I
to say the
was. And, you know, it's sad because I was so upset with myself. And I just wish that we were better at supporting moms and realize that a healthy, well fed baby is enough.
Yeah. What is one thing that you wish you could go back and be ready for or do, or maybe have your husband ready for to prevent this type of shame in the hospital?
I wish that I was educated about this and I was aware of the pressure more so I could have had a stronger stance and been more confident in my decision rather than playing this mental tug of war. But you know, I think it's funny that you asked that because this kind of goes into my next thing that I feel like I should have been more prepared for, and that's regulating your emotions. Like teaching your children to regulate their emotions when you are really not taught it yourself is such a challenge. I feel like in my culture, regulating your emotions is not really a thing. And you're trying to guide them through these big feelings, especially while we're in his like terrible twos phase, while I'm still learning how to handle my own. And growing up, I didn't always see or figure out healthy ways to process my emotions. It's always been a trial and error kind of situation. But figuring out how to stay calm when I'm triggered or overwhelmed and trying to then teach that to my son has been really difficult because I can't just tell him how to regulate. I have to show him that. And so some days it feels impossible, but I remind myself that I'm not just teaching them, I'm also reparenting myself, and breaking cycles and building something that's healthier for us both is also just a lot of pressure and nonstop kind of teaching and learning. So you learn so much from these little beings, and I'm so grateful for everything he teaches me every day.
Yeah, I love that, and it sounds hard. It's, when you're trying to go through it with your baby and yet you're also feeling overwhelmed. I'm sure it is just a lot. But speaking about regulating emotions, I let's move on to the episode Shouldn't I Be a Mama Already? I think I'm with you, Summer. We both really tried to be as transparent about our journeys. You as a mom, me as someone that has not given birth, not gone through pregnancy. In my experience, it's been a few months, but it continues to be the same. I've been in therapy and it's been healing for me going to that journey. There's been a lot of healing I think over the past few years, especially the past 2, and I'm honestly really enjoying it. It's hard because there's an expectation to be a mom, and there's questioning if she does not want to be a mom. That's hard, and I've had conversations about this since we last recorded, someone approaching me about it. Actually, what's funny and not funny, so I went to the nail salon this weekend ahead of Colombia. I'm really just wanting to do the things that make me happy so I can go there refreshed. I'm so excited. And so the nail technician is working on my nails. She's super friendly, right? And so at this point, I'm like, oh, I'm just talking with her. And she asks me, do you have a husband? I said, yes. She said, oh, great. Yeah. Do you have children? I said, no, I don't. And then she's like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, you want to calm down right now, relax." And I said, "Exactly. That's exactly what I want to do." And then she was like, "How old are you and your husband?" And I told her we're 33. I never want to give our real age just because I just don't feel comfortable. And then she said, "You're 33 too." And I said, "Yes." She said, "Yeah, you have 2 years until you're a mom. So you need to be ready. You have to do it before 35 because you can after that. It's dangerous. Don't do it after 35." And I mean, this conversation went from, hey, how's your day? You're married. Yay. To literally looks at me and puts her finger up and she's like, you have in 2 years. That's how long you have. And this was like yesterday, okay? And it was just like one of those things that I didn't get upset with her. I was really aware of it, and I think it's because of this podcast and what we're trying to do here. So I'm not going to be mean to this woman, but I wish that I could almost bring people down to earth and say something along the lines of never know what people are going through and you don't know what I'm going through. Sometimes it's just like have you ever been in a situation where something happens to you and you almost are in shock of the audacity this person had to speak to you that way or ask you something? And so I don't even know what I said. We moved on from the conversation because guess what? This is a part of being 30 something is just being questioned all the time, people making assumptions. And so this is the part of the emotional clarity that I feel like I have strived for. And I'm at the moment where that didn't make me feel bad. It does remind me of something that I don't want to be reminded when I'm trying to go out and just have me time. I think about this a lot. And I tell my husband that I think about it a lot. I guess it does bother me more than I thought it did. It doesn't bother me in the way that I am upset with her. It bothers me in the way that I'm like, I know you don't need to remind me. Trust me, I think about this all the time.
That's so annoying because you're there, like, to relax. And first of all, I know people in their 40s, late 30s that have healthily, easily had a baby. Every woman's body is different. I know someone that's close to 50 and got pregnant. There's just so many different situations that can happen. Second, when people say things like that, like, is she gonna come be the babysitter? Is she gonna come help you postpartum? This is the type of shit I hate. You're gonna sit there and put me on a timeline. I hate that you had to go through that. And I'm really sorry that you had to feel that way. I feel like the older you're getting, it's probably getting harder. How does that tie into the way that you try to regulate yourself and your feelings about these situations? And then you hear these pressures, and clearly, it's not like this is an ancient problem for girls in our society today. It's still very well rooted.
Exactly. And that's the sad part about it. It just happened. It's this very real thing in our society today. And the fact that I came home and I told my husband, and he was like, "Oh, why did she feel like she could just tell you that? She doesn't know you." I don't know how it went to that. I'm just embracing this life that I want for myself. I'm realizing I want this calm, unhurried, tranquil life, whether I have children or not. My mind has shifted from my early 20s even to my mid 20s. I used to be so career focused, Summer, and it's not that I'm not anymore, but I was just like, bam, bam, bam. Like, I need to get my master's. I need to do this, do that. I did things that I'm really happy for. And I do think that set me up for where I am today. But now I am just not about it. I do want to embrace this very calm life of not having to climb these ladders. Take a moment and think about how we as a society, our environment, how people look at wanting this calm life versus climbing this career ladder. I think that it's so embraced and loved to want to be career focused. And I think that's beautiful. But right now, I'm just like, I don't need to climb a ladder. And I think that goes into I'm not sure if I want children because I'm loving at this point where I'm at. And also the Northern Virginia culture. And I think when I first moved here and like being 30 something right now, not having children, living in Northern Virginia, I am proud of myself. There's so many noises, Summer. You know this. So many noises. And it's like you have to be so many things here. You have to climb these career ladders. And I had such a difficult time with that. And it wasn't to the point where it was like, no, Luce, you need to prioritize yourself. People can choose that for themselves if that makes them happy, but that's just not who I am. I grew up in such a small and beautiful hometown, the Eastern Shore, and I grew to love it. And one thing I will always take away from the Eastern Shore is the slow pace in life and just realizing that the small moments are actually the big moments.
I completely understand that, especially with Northern Virginia. And then I have this whole other added layer of the Pakistani and Indian community and kind of fighting for your social ladders, your work career, the socioeconomic status and the class of people that you're hanging out with. I mean, it is just so toxic. What does this person do? What does their friends do? And it makes me sick to my stomach every time I go back. I am so grateful. Shout out to Austin. I love it here. I feel the same way. I think maybe opposite of you, where you came from calmness and went into a hustle bustle, chaotic city. I left that chaotic city and then I moved to somewhere where everyone just minds their own business. No one cares and it's so lax here. And I love it. And it's allowed me to find myself and redefine my values.
Austin is beautiful. My husband
Mm.
we were asking each other what our favorite cities are. And I was like, I think Austin is like one of my tops. It's calm, but there's so much to do there.
Yeah.
It's just been so nice to talk to you on this podcast and grow together. You were from Northern Virginia. So I'm able to talk to you about so many things and you get me. And, like you said, if you include the Indian Pakistani elements to it, that's different. But you get this culture up here. And so let's talk about our friendship, talk about where we started and how we're here now in this podcast. I think it's been so, so fun with you, to be honest.
I really think that this podcast has taken our friendship to the next level. Not only are we best friends, but we have learned so much about each other. We've shared stories through this process and gave one another confidence to be vulnerable. We collaborated in this venture, almost as business partners and navigated through so many challenges together. And I think once again came out stronger. And I'm so grateful because there is no one else I would rather be on this journey with. I cannot just sit here and vibe and have these candid, open, non-scripted conversations with anyone other than you. And then we've built this community together. They have been the heartbeat of our podcast, their support, the feedback, the love, and it kept us going even when there was so much noise and it felt so overwhelming that we were almost second guessing ourselves. We still just powered through this chapter together.
Yes, yes. And like you said, shout out to our listeners. If you are listening right now, you don't know how much it means to us. It's been such a awesome experience. And if you feel like you've taken away something from this, know that we also have taken so many things away. Definitely agree with everything you said, Summer. We are just like best friends to like a different level, a different planet. You know so much about my life. I know so much about yours. And we would text each other a lot or call here and there. And we were really close, but we really do know the ins and outs of, oh man, like I can text you and you know exactly what I'm referring to if I just text you something quick. We are just really close in that level. And I'm really proud of us. We really are embracing our authenticity and really growing into who we are actually meant to be and who we want to be. And it's been a lot of not listening to noises and criticism that we have both experienced to different degrees and realizing who really is there to clap for you. Like, oh my gosh, sometimes it's not this really close friend you thought you had. It's someone that, you just met or someone that you've known for a long time, but you didn't know that they'd clap for you. So shout out to all of you once again. Thank you so, so much. We truly appreciate it. And we see everything, all the love everywhere. We really appreciate it.
We do. And I think that we have a vision for what we want to do next and what the future holds. But right now, because of there being so many high priority things on our list, we chose to take a break. And like Luz said, we have found ourselves and our values and wanting to slow down. So we are not abandoning our community nor the podcast, where we really have a vision and we want to execute it better. This break will really allow us to hone in on what we want to do and redefine our mission and work on our skills so that when we do come back with whatever we do, we come back together with a bang. And we're just so excited. I've really found myself with you through this journey as well. And also redefined my values and priorities where, like you said before, you had this high career powered woman. That's what I had always imagined too. But motherhood and realization of things that matter and what impact I want to leave in society. But yeah, we're
No.
just so excited for the future and we love you all so much.
Yes, we love you all. And I think this time off for us will actually be time for us to also just be best friends. It's been really fun to do both, but I think I really just miss talking to Summer and not having to do the extra work and just really cultivate and nourish the friendship that started this entire thing. Like it was me and her from the beginning. And it'll be really awesome and just rejuvenating for me to start the year fresh of just best friends. And like Summer said, we have a vision. We're really just thankful for you all. We do look forward to what's ahead and just wanting to take the time to focus on our family, our priorities, rest, recharge for the new year. And we are so, so grateful for each and every one of you.
Yeah, we are. Thank you all so much for your support, for your likes, for your views, for withstanding our constant stories and reminders of our episodes. Trust me, marketing ourselves was probably one thing that we absolutely did not like part of this process because it's so unnatural to us to badger people. So that was something that took some learning, but I really put myself out there and I feel like I could put salesman on my resume now.
Saleswoman.
Oh, yes. Yes, you're right.
I love you. And thank you so much to everyone listening. Again, we really appreciate it. Stay tuned and happy holidays to everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other platform you listen to podcasts on. As Chicas and Chai, follow us for more content on Instagram at Chicas and Chai Podcasts.